The world was already awake that morning. Cars rushed down the street, horns echoed in the distance, and people walked by with coffee in their hands, eyes fixed on their phones. Everyone seemed to have somewhere important to be. In the middle of all this movement, no one noticed the small puppy struggling near the sidewalk. His body was thin, his fur matted with dirt, and one of his legs dragged painfully behind him. Every step looked like it might be his last. The puppy didn't bark. He didn't cry out for attention. He had learned, perhaps too early, that making noise didn't always bring help. Instead, he relied on instinct. With the little strength he had left, he moved toward the only person who slowed down that day, an old man walking carefully with a cane. When the puppy reached him, he stopped, lifted his head, and looked straight into the man's eyes. The old man froze. He hadn't planned to stop. He was tired, his joints ached, and the walk home already felt longer than usual. At first, he thought the puppy would run away like most strays did. But the puppy didn't run. He simply stood there, trembling, silently asking for something he didn't know how to explain. The old man looked around. People continued walking past them, some glancing briefly before looking away. No one stopped. No one asked if the puppy was okay. In that moment, the old man felt a weight settle on his chest. He realized that if he walked away too, this small life would likely disappear without anyone ever knowing it existed. Slowly, carefully, the old man knelt down. His knees protested, but he ignored the pain. Up close, the puppy looked even worse. His eyes were dull with exhaustion, and his breathing was shallow. It was clear that he hadn't eaten or drunk water in days. Someone had abandoned him when he became inconvenient, leaving him to survive on his own. The puppy flinched as the old man moved closer. Pain had taught him fear. Yet something about this man felt different. There was no rush in his movements, no anger in his voice, just quiet concern. The old man reached into his bag, pulled out a small bottle of water, and gently poured some onto the ground. At first, the puppy hesitated. Then, inch by inch, he lowered his head and began to drink. That simple act changed everything. It was the first moment of relief the puppy had felt in a long time, and the old man felt his heart tightened as he watched. Realizing the puppy couldn't stay there, the old man removed his jacket and placed it on the ground. The pavement was cold, but the jacket offered warmth and comfort. After a few moments, the puppy collapsed onto it, too weak to stand any longer. That was when the old man knew he couldn't leave. Lifting the puppy wasn't easy. His arms trembled and his back screamed in protest, but he held on, whispering softly, promising the puppy that he was safe now. Step by step, he made his way to his car, every movement fueled by determination. At the veterinary clinic, the staff immediately understood the seriousness of the situation. The puppy was rushed inside while the old man waited, gripping his cane tightly. Tests were done, wounds were cleaned, fluids were administered. The vet eventually approached the old man with a grave expression and told him the truth. If the puppy had arrived even a few hours later, he wouldn't have survived. The waiting was the hardest part. The old man sat alone in the hallway, surrounded by unfamiliar sounds and smells. He thought about his quiet home, about the loneliness he had grown used to, and about the moment he almost kept walking. When the vet finally returned with good news, the old man felt tears fill his eyes. The puppy was alive, weak but alive, a small miracle born from a single decision. The days that followed were slow and difficult. Recovery required patience. Medicine had to be given carefully. Meals were small and frequent. The puppy slept often, his body using every bit of energy to heal. Through all, the old man stayed close, watching over him. As the puppy grew stronger, his personality began to emerge. His tail wagged when he saw the old man. He followed him from room to room, as if afraid that if he looked away, he might be abandoned again. The old man smiled more than he had in years. Weeks passed, and the puppy learned to walk without pain. Sunlight filled the small home as the two of them stepped outside together. Neighbors noticed the change in the old man. He stood a little straighter, his eyes held warmth instead of weariness. This wasn't just a rescue story. It was a story about timing, about compassion, about how one small act of kindness can ripple outward, changing lives in ways we never expect. The puppy had begged for help because he had no other choice. The old man stopped because his heart wouldn't let him do otherwise. Together, they found something they had both been missing. In a world that moves too fast, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stop, look down, and choose kindness. You may not change the whole world, but you can change the world for one life, and sometimes that changes yours too.
That night, the old man couldn't sleep. The puppy lay beside his bed, wrapped in a soft blanket, breathing quietly. Every small sound made the old man open his eyes, just to make sure the puppy was still there. He told himself he was only being careful, but deep down he knew the truth. He was afraid of losing him. The puppy had been alone for so long that even safety felt unfamiliar. At times he would whimper in his sleep, as if reliving moments no one had seen. The old man would sit up, gently placing his hand nearby, not touching, just enough for the puppy to know he wasn't alone anymore. In those quiet hours, The old man reflected on his own life. He had outlived most of the people he loved. His days had become predictable, empty, and quiet. He never imagined that one unexpected stop on the sidewalk would change everything. Morning came slowly. Sunlight filled the room, and the puppy opened his eyes. For a moment, he panicked, unsure of where he was. Then he saw the old man, sitting nearby, watching him with a calm smile. The puppy's tail moved gently, a small sign of trust returning. The old man prepared food carefully, following the vet's instructions. The puppy ate slowly, still weak, but determined. Each bite felt like a victory. Each breath felt like a promise of a future that once seemed impossible. As days passed, the puppy began to explore the house. Every corner was new. Every sound was strange. Yet he always returned to the old man's side, as if checking to make sure he hadn't disappeared. Neighbors began to notice the change. They saw the old man walking a little farther each day, the puppy beside him. They saw him smiling, stopping to talk, laughing softly. What they didn't know was that they were witnessing two lives slowly coming back to life. The puppy no longer begged for help. He no longer searched the streets for kindness. He had found it. And the old man no longer walked alone.
As days turned into weeks, something beautiful happened. The puppy didn't just heal physically. He learned what safety felt like. For the first time in his life, he slept without fear. For the first time, he woke up knowing someone would still be there. The old man noticed the change too. His mornings were no longer silent. There were small footsteps following him, a tail wagging whenever he smiled. The house that once felt empty was now full of life. People often talk about saving animals, but what they don't talk about enough is how often animals save us too. This puppy begged for help because he had no one left, and the old man stopped because, deep down, neither did he. In a world that keeps rushing forward, where suffering is easy to ignore, one person chose to stop, and that choice saved two lives. If you ever wonder whether kindness still matters, remember this story, because sometimes all it takes to change a life is 5 seconds of courage and a heart willing to care. You may not be able to help everyone, but for one life, you can be everything.